Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it.
Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Scoreboard Media. Scoreboard Media works with high schools across the country to run professional sponsorship programs on their LED scoreboards. Whether you already have LED and you just want to supercharge the revenue, or you want to use sponsorship revenue to buy new LED video scoreboards, Scoreboard Media can help. They work with sponsors and advertisers locally, regionally, and nationally who want to connect with your school's community. Email info@scoreboardmedia.com to start the conversation and see what's possible.
So let me ask you this: you guys play JV games before you play varsity games?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
or the girls, or
whatever. So you got something going on before your game. You can't tell me that you're in the bleachers in the third quarter of the JV game, or in your case, like the girls' varsity game, maybe, or whatever, and you're not at some point or another cracking a joke or something funny happens, and you're doing this and that. And you're walking to the locker room, or maybe you're walking in the locker room and something happens. And if a kid did that, would you lose it? Some of you might. You're not focused. You're not locked in. It's okay for me to do it, but you better be locked in. Well, I know how to lock in. Man, there is only so much mental energy that all of us can give. So you've got to be really smart about budgeting. We always talk about budgeting physical energy. You know, we talk about shortening practices as the season goes along and doing this and doing that. And some people go no contact and whatever it may be. You know what? There's only so much emotional energy that people can give as well. So and I'm pretty self-deprecating with my humor. I'm sure you've probably picked up on that. You know, it's a basketball game. I mean, think about it. You know, it's a hoop that's hanging 10 feet above the ground, and we spend hours and days trying to figure out how to do that more than somebody else. Yeah. So yeah, it's serious. Yeah, it's this. Yeah, it's that. But you know, at the same time, let's keep it in perspective. Let's find joy. Yeah, we want to take it seriously. Yeah, we want to win. Yeah, there is like that, for lack of a better way of saying it, that high of winning a big game, man, that's a drug. I don't care what anybody says. That's a drug. That's a rush. That's real. And I, you know, that's, again, it's important. Like I said earlier in the pod, we're not just showing up going, hey, look how pretty our stuff is, and that was fun to run around for a couple hours. No, there's a purpose of what we're trying to do. But man, there's only so much emotional energy that a team can give, that an individual can give. So you got to be smart about it. If you're talking about a kid that's getting locked in, are you truly locked in at 4:00 for a 7:30 game? Or are you, if you're sitting in your office, or if you're sitting in your classroom and you're shooting the breeze with your coaches and somebody cracks a good joke, are you not going to laugh? Of course you're going to laugh. You know, so you got to give that same grace to your kids. You got to give that same thing to them. As long as they're ready to go, you know, 30 to 45 minutes, like I said, that's magic to me. If I ever get back into it again, I'm going to do the same thing, because it's okay. Now it's time. It's a universal signal to everybody within the program that when we hear this, and those couple songs that my kids used the last 4 years, whenever I hear them for the rest of my life, I'm going to think of that, okay, it's time to get locked in and time to compete. And I think that mentally, I think that's just such a positive thing. And it takes the burden off of you as a coach. Man. Push play. Okay, no debating anymore. We've all agreed it's time to lock in. You know, and I think that's such a good thing. And that's why Dick's done what he's done. And I'm really proud of him. I'm so happy to call him one of my really, really good friends. I mean, we've known each other for 40 years and we're still tight. And I'm really proud of that.
I think I needed to hear that. You know, and what I love about doing this now for almost 3 years is every talk, there's at least one golden nugget that I think there's a ton of golden nuggets that people can get from this. And I'll get more than one, but there's always like one thing that, golly, that's really good. And I needed to hear that for me as a coach at Grapevine Faith. I think we overestimate how important being locked in or in the zone is before games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's as important as we like to pretend it is.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I've realized about myself is I forget quite a bit how I really was as a player.
Mm-hmm.
I maybe tell a different version to my players now of how focused, how driven, how hard I worked.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and now I've gotten away from, I don't even talk about my playing career anymore because I did realize that they don't care. Like, they
Yeah.
don't care that I play
Yeah.
at all. But
Exactly.
okay, before games, I'd have my music in and when I would shoot around and stuff, and then I'd go in the locker room and I'd sit there and I'd be talking and it might not even be about the game.
Yeah.
And then coach would come in and then, okay, what are we talking about? Scouting report. I'm in. Like but that was the moment. I didn't have to sit in a dark room or I mean, I've told guys like, hey, we're gonna sit in the stands. Don't talk to anybody while we're sitting in the stands. Like, why? Like,
Yeah.
what are we achieving? Like,
Yeah.
again, how much joy am I sucking out of this experience for them?
Yep.
I think that's something where I'm gonna because you're right on the money. I mean, my wife will be there. I'll talk with her, other coaches. I'll see friends. I'll
Oh
see
yeah.
other like this,
Yeah.
and then right before I walk in the locker room, all right, game time. Like
Yeah.
that's how long it takes. Right there, I just did it.
Yep.
Like it doesn't have to take a lot of time. But now, you focus. We talk about these things, and then how we warm up should be a reflection more on how we approach every day anyway.
Yeah.
We're about excellence. We
Yep.
want to be excellence and confidence comes from our preparation. Let's prepare properly now in this 15 minutes that we have. Man,
Yep.
I think I needed to hear that. But you're right. It gets to we feel like it's so important. Dave Bliss. This is one of the. I have some good stories about him. Unfortunately, a lot of people think of just the bad stuff, but he was great to play for those 3 years in moments. And one thing was we were at Kansas and we were beating them by 10 at halftime. And he comes in, he's talking, and he's really like proud of what we've been doing. And he just takes his fist and he slams the locker. And I mean, in my mind, it was like almost 20 years ago now, but I think he dent that thing. Like he hit it hard. He's like, golly, like, do you know what you have in front of you? Do you know? And then like we're about to run out, and I look at his hand, and it's just shaking because he's like, he broke something, but he looks at me and he goes, Matt, like this is the only way I can compete now, and I love it. Like, and it was so chilling to be like I was
Yeah.
ready to run through a wall. So, but
Yeah.
even at Grapevine Faith Christian School at a 5A TAPS level, which is not we're not a big school. Like I get that feeling, but
Yep.
I can't. Maybe these high school kids like they don't look at it that way. They don't view it. So I just need them to again. I need them to be appropriately bought in.
Yeah. Yeah.
The normal the amount that they should, not more. The fact, or like to me, I'm gonna break my knuckle because I'm so hyped up and ready. But
Yeah.
I just slip that Dave Bliss story in there.
Yeah. No, I think you're right, Matt. I think you hit the nail on the head, and yeah, perfect. Perfect.
Coach, I would like to have a round two at some point if you don't mind
Sure.
in our talk because all of everything we just talked about was based off of the daily habits that set you up for success, and we went for an hour and a half almost through that. So maybe we hit a couple other of the questions for round two. You good with that?
This is my Italian, like, my podcast came about. I've told the story many times, and my wife kind of says, "No, that's not how it really happened." I'm telling you right now, this is how I have. And she said we have a movie theater that has since closed since COVID hit. Quarantine just killed it, and but it's like 4 blocks away from our house. So like when our kids were really young, um, we would literally walk over to the theater. They had like free movies on Thursday mornings, so cheap daycare. We'd go over, spend time with my kids in the summertime, blah blah blah. So we were walking back, and uh, I was kind of, we were talking about basketball, and I was like, I kind of feel like I want to do something, but I'm not ready to coach yet. This was at the end of year 1 of the 2-year sabbatical. And she goes, I want to do something, but I'm not really sure what to do. And she says, well, why don't you start a podcast? You like listening to podcasts and you talk a lot. And so here you are, you asked me one question, and 90 minutes later, we've covered basically maybe one and a half of the 7 or 8 things that I sent you here. So part of this is on me, Matt. It's
the fun part is
Yeah.
just to see how it flows.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.